What is up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and welcome back to another video at Axe Entertainment. I'm your host, Zach Axe, bringing you my personal favorite wrestlers currently in the WWE. I did not include anybody from NXT in this video because I figured NXT could possibly get their own video. Same thing with female competitors. I definitely want to make a top 20 female, active female wrestlers somewhere down the line, so I left off the female. This is just strictly the men's wrestlers on the main roster right now. I did also try to leave off a little bit of tag team guys because I think tag team guys, more you like them as an identity of a tag team than like singles competitors. So I kind of left off tag teams. Maybe in the future we'll do tag teams. And I also want to get out maybe in the future a video about my favorite superstars of all time. I just want to let you guys know who I like, what I like, so as you continue to watch, you can see maybe my progression changing who I like. Maybe, you know, I like somebody and then I don't, or I don't and now I do. I did limit this list to 20. It was very hard to pick out 20 guys that I want, but I do want to throw out 8 honorable mentions real quick. That being Rey Fenix, Ilya Dragunov, Logan Paul, Damian Priest, Chad Gable, Sheamus, Grayson Waller, and Austin Theory are all guys that I genuinely enjoy, and if they're on TV, I am usually entertained. I know I said no tag teams, and then I said Waller and Theory, but they're not really a tag team identity. They're kind of their own individuals that are just happen to be in a tag team. But all those guys I genuinely enjoy. I just couldn't find room for them in the top 20. Maybe someday they'll, you know, crack the 20. But as of right now, that's what I'm giving as my honorable mentions. Also, I forgot to include him earlier because I apparently just skipped over his name, but Karrion Kross is also an honorable mention. I think Karrion Kross is great, and I hope that he actually does something here soon and gets more than 40 seconds of TV time because he's way too good for all of that mess. Now, getting into the top 20, at number 20, I do have a tag team guy. I'm kind of breaking my rules early, but I have Johnny Gargano. Now, Johnny Gargano was my favorite wrestler in NXT Black and Gold ever since he debuted. Ever since him and Ciampa broke up, he became my favorite, and I think he's one of the best in the ring. I think right now he's kind of stuck in a tag division, but it's a tag division that's flourishing, so it's okay. But I do want to put him on this list because, like I said, he was my favorite in NXT. I love watching him on the main roster, and just overall, I couldn't leave him off this list because he's been one of my favorites for so long. At number 19, I have another one of my favorites from NXT Black and Gold, and that is Sami Zayn. Now, Sami Zayn would definitely be higher on this list if his character was a little bit different. I'm kind of sick of the Sami Zayn character that he currently has. I don't really like how he's basically a hypocrite, is this whole gimmick. And he just belittles people for doing stuff that he did in the past. I mean, he aligned himself with like the most dangerous guy in WWE history and Roman Reigns when the Bloodline story was at the top. But now, if you do that with Seth Rollins, you're automatically like the biggest POS in the world. So I don't like his gimmick right now, but Sami Zayn is a phenomenal wrestler. I think he's toned down a little bit since NXT, you know, not as many turnbuckle DDTs or, you know, crazy moves, Koji clutches. But overall, I love Sami Zayn. He's great in the ring. Getting to number 18, we have a guy that we just actually mentioned in Roman Reigns. Now, I know this guy is going to be on the top, if not, you know, number 1 to number 5 of a lot of people's lists. But me personally, Roman Reigns definitely redeemed himself with the Tribal Chief gimmick, but not enough to make me fall in love with him, you know, exponentially. Because we had, as the Shield was very cool, Roman Reigns is very cool. And then he comes up as the big dog and they just ruin him, shove him down our throats, we all hate him. And then he comes back as the Tribal Chief and everyone's like, and me especially, because like I said, this is my list. I was like, dang, I really like this gimmick. Everybody wanted him to turn heel. He finally turns heel. And then he takes the Universal Championship hostage pretty much immediately, and he holds on to that thing for way longer than he probably should have, being a part-timer. Now, if he was constantly there, you know, every week, maybe then he could be higher, but I love Roman Reigns now. I love that he gets a big pop, but he's still a part-timer. He's been a part-timer ever since, like, I would say 2020. He's been a part-timer. And I just can't put a guy who's technically a part-timer on this list, or high up on this list, especially when I don't even have John Cena on this list because he's a part-timer. Overall, I think Roman Reigns definitely stepped his game up in the ring and his storytelling game up overall when he became the head of the table, but I just couldn't put him any higher than 18. At number 17, we had his brother in the honorable mentions, Rey Fenix. At number 17, we have Penta. Now, Penta, I was super hyped for when he came into WWE. What's funny is when they were in AEW, and you know, all the different brands they were in, I always kind of liked Rey Fenix better. His presentation was so much better than Rey Fenix's so far in WWE that I had to put him on this list, and I could not put Rey Fenix on there because Rey Fenix, since he showed up, has just been eating losses. He's had some cool, some cool moves. He has some cool moments, but for the most part, he's just been eating losses. And I feel like Penta's been getting treated better overall, and I think Penta has been able to, flourish with the spotlight that's been put on him way faster than Rey Fenix was. Like I said, they're not really that comparable because Rey Fenix had a little bit harder time than they gave Penta because they rolled out the red carpet for Penta. Feels like they didn't do the same as much for Rey Fenix. But I think Penta overall, I just enjoy him more in the ring. I enjoy his overall storytelling in the ring more than Rey Fenix's. But I think Rey Fenix, come a couple years, maybe when they're back in the tag division, or if they're still singles guys, I'm sure Rey Fenix will make his way back up here after they finally start building him up and realize what they have. At number 16, pretty low here, but I do have main event Jey Uso. And a lot of people in the wrestling community won't even have Jey Uso on their list. So I love Jey Uso. I think he's great. He's a part of one of the best tag teams of all time. But coming into the singles world, he did struggle off the riff with pretty much everything except for character. His character was fine, but his mic skills needed work, his moves needed work, in-ring storytelling needed work. Everything really needed work except for his catchphrase. And I was excited that they're finally pushing Jey Uso because he was actually having great matches back when he was the right hand back when he was the right hand man. He was having great matches with Roman Reigns. He was having great matches. He won the Andre Giant Battle Royal. He was just having good matches overall. And then once he changed into the Yeet guy, everybody started hating him. I still liked him, and I still love Jey Uso. I just think if he maybe flourished a little bit more with storytelling and got some more moves, that he can easily be in my top 10 sooner or later. But right now, I'm going to have him at 16. At number 15, we have a guy that's not been presented the best ever since coming out from NXT, and that is Carmelo Hayes. But Carmelo Hayes is genuinely one of the best wrestlers in the ring that they have on Friday Night SmackDown. He is phenomenal in the ring, and I just wish that they would actually pull the trigger on him. It seems like they're slowly doing it, with winning the Andre Giant Battle Royal and, kind of his team with The Miz. And I'm very excited to see where he's going because if you watch the Money in the Bank video I made, I said Braun Breaker, Mello after they come out of NXT, and that's kind of what's happening. But we're seeing Mello slowly progress to the top, and I love it. He's such a good wrestler, and I hope his size doesn't hurt him down the line because his moves are crazy. He has some amazing moves, and he just has so many cool moves. He's such a good storyteller, and I think that he needs to get a push sooner or later. But I had to put on number 15. Maybe, like I said, he can move up sometime soon because he is starting to finally get a push. Coming in at number 14, we have a guy that, if you asked me this question maybe 3-4 years ago, I would have told you he's in my top 5, and that is LA Knight. Now, LA Knight, when he first showed up, first got the LA Knight gimmick back on the main roster, he came out swinging. He was getting the loudest crowd reactions out of anybody on the entire roster. He was, putting on great matches, but I feel like great is kind of what he's capped at. He hasn't really had that match that I would look at and say is a 5-star match. I'd say all of his matches are usually in the middle to good, as opposed to ever really being, the next level of great. He's so dang charismatic. He's so good on the mic, and he's so honestly pretty good in the ring. I just think in ring is probably his worst aspect, and I think if he got a little bit better at pulling out some different moves, maybe he could be higher in the near future. But I love LA Knight, and I don't know why I feel like I'm downplaying these guys, and they're in my top 20. But I love LA Knight. He's coming in at number 14. At number 13, we have a guy that just recently came back in Aleister Black. Now, I am counting his time in NXT here, not his time on the main roster the first time. And I'm counting his time, honestly, anywhere, because Aleister Black is, bar none, probably the best striker in WWE right now. I can't think of somebody else, that has the same velocity, how do you say that word? Has the same impact when he uses his kicks or his, knees, and he's such a karate kid almost of the ring, and I love that. Some sort of jiu-jitsu or taekwondo that he, infuses into his matches, and overall he's just a great striker mixed with technician. He's a good technician too, very underrated as a technician, and he also has some high-flying moves. He's an all-rounder because he has everything just meshed together, and he had some 5-star classics in NXT. After he came back to the main roster, not so much. But now that he's back, I hope that he can show up and show out. And he, is having this feud with Melo and Miz right now, and hopefully he continues to progress to becoming, hopefully, a main eventer this time. He definitely could be it, like we saw him be in NXT. Coming at number 12, we have a guy that hasn't had the greatest push ever since a couple different unfortunate things happened, and that is Finn Balor. But Finn Balor overall, people don't see it nowadays, is still one of the best wrestlers in the world. He just has his moveset changed up right now because he's been a heel for, 4 years at this point, without even sniffing a babyface turn. He has been, with his babyface moveset, he had so many more flashy moves, so many more huge moves. And I'd say his heel moveset, honestly, is pretty much the same. It's just a little bit dialed down. But Finn Balor in NXT was a different breed. He was amazing. Finn Balor, when he came up to the main roster, was a different breed. He was amazing. He came back from injury. He was a different breed. He was amazing. And ever since he, pretty much lost to Roman Reigns as the Demon, I think that's kind of where the real downfall of Finn Balor has gone, is after he lost that match, and then he lost to Edge at WrestleMania, and he stopped using the Demon, which I'm okay with because he's still an amazing wrestler, and I hope the Demon does return one day. But just as Finn Balor, he is an amazing wrestler. People seem to forget that at one point he was in the conversation for best wrestler in the world, and I hope he gets a push sometime soon. I hope he can finally get out of this black hole that is Finn Balor. And I love Finn Balor. I had to put him on here. At number 11, we have a guy that's shown up actually quite recently, but impressed a lot of people, and that is the United States champion, Jacob Fatu. Now, Jacob Fatu first debuted, he kind of had this weird, sitting on the bench type, of gimmick where he's always there, but he's never doing anything big. He can't even hold the tag titles because we're going to take it away from him and give it to Tonga Loa for some reason. And it just, when he finally broke away, he finally started letting a lot of his more crazy moves show out, and he started being able to control matches even more. He has shown how good he is in the ring and how good he can be in singles action, that I think he should just completely break away from the bloodline, get away from them. He is good enough to right now be a main eventer. I'm glad that he didn't move immediately to the main event. I'm glad that he's kind of making steps progression towards it. And I think one day we'll see Jacob Fatu probably main eventing WrestleMania. Just cracking my top 10, we have a guy that I've loved since his time in NXT, and that is Braun Breaker. Now, Braun Breaker came out of the gate swinging. He came up from NXT, where he was a 2-time NXT champion, had some great matches down there with, Dolph Ziggler, Carmelo Hayes, Trick Williams, and he comes up to the main roster, and he just immediately shows out, winning the Intercontinental Championship within, he was maybe there for a couple months, full time before he won the Intercontinental Championship. And then he lost it to Jay, but then he got it right back, and he was having great matches along the way with the likes of Jay, with the likes of, Penta, Finn. And then after he loses it, he immediately jumps up to the main event scene with Seth Rollins. Overall, his in-ring is crazy. He's crazy fast for the size that he is. He's crazy, he has crazy agility for the size he is. I liked his gimmick before he joined Seth Rollins, but now that his gimmick with Seth Rollins is allowing him to be a heel and, tune into that heel side, I think it's so much better, and I could see him moving up even further than number 10 on this list. Number 9 for me is a pretty simple one. It is one of the best wrestlers of all time, and that is AJ Styles. He is still wrestling to this day, and it's a little bit boring to see AJ nowadays because I feel like they're not doing anything with him, knowing that he's in his final years. There's guys that they're pushing right now that have 10, 20 years still left in them, while we have AJ Styles who has maybe 2 or 3, and he's not doing much. They finally started to give him TV time with Penta and with the Karrion Kross storyline, but overall, ever since even if we don't count anything he did before WWE, we just count what he did in 2016 and on, he is still one of my favorite wrestlers ever. He is great. I love him in the ring. He's a masterclass at that. He's great at storytelling. He's great at selling. He's pretty good on the mic. There's not a aspect of the game that AJ Styles is not good at. Coming at number 8, we have a guy I debated putting on the list because he's not full-time right now because he's injured, but I have Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens is, take everything pretty much I said about AJ Styles and you can really put it on everybody else on this list, but especially Kevin Owens, because Kevin Owens, like a Braun Breaker, is a bigger dude. He's a little bit chunkier, but he can move like nobody else. He is athletic as hell in the ring. He's on there doing moonsaults and all these crazy flips and stuff. And on top of that, he is genuinely, I think, in the top probably 5 mic workers of all time. Like, he is crazy good on the mic. He's crazy good at comebacks. His raw aggression that he's able to show during his promos, I love that. He's great at showing emotion. He's great at showing emotion in the match. He's great at being a heel. He's pretty good at being a face, while sometimes a little bit boring, and he's definitely a better heel than he is face. I think no matter what Kevin Owens does, he's always entertaining, because even when he was a face with Sami Zayn and just talking hella smack to the heels was entertaining. So everything Kevin Owens does is entertaining. He had that little run where we had the Kevin was right storyline. I think that whole thing even just made Kevin Owens even more interesting. And Kevin Owens is just honestly one of the best wrestlers in WWE right now. Hopefully he comes back and he has a speedy recovery, because I'm missing some Kevin Owens on my TV. At number 7, we have an all-timer in Randy Orton. Now, Randy Orton, when it's all said and done and he calls it a career, I'm sure he will move up my all-time list. But right now on TV, I got him at number 7. I have 6 guys ahead of him that I just enjoy watching more. But Randy overall is just like, I think, who says this all the time? I think like Jerry Lawler started saying it, and then it kind of made its way to Michael Cole, and says like, if you were to build a perfect wrestler, it would look like Randy Orton. And that's exactly right. He looks like a perfect wrestler. He has the catchy entrance theme. He has a gimmick that he's able to kind of adjust whenever he needs to. He's kind of always had the same gimmick. I'd say after the 09 Randy, he's always had the same gimmick. He's just able to shift it from heel to face pretty easily. And he's great in the ring. He's not going to blow your top off in the ring, but he is absolutely great at controlling the speed of the match. He's great at knowing his cues. He's great at just making huge moments. So whatever he lacks in overall moveset, he makes up for in big moments. And I don't have to tell you how good Randy Orton is. You already know. At number 6, we have Gunther. Now, Gunther is a guy that has honestly moved down the list a little bit. He was in my top 3 for a while. He was one of my favorites to watch, if not my favorite to watch, when he first came up and he was the Intercontinental Champion. He put on some bangers with Drew McIntyre, with Sheamus, with Ricochet, with The Miz. He put on some absolute bangers as Intercontinental Champion. And that span as Intercontinental Champion, honestly, is what puts him on here. Because I loved him in NXT. Coming into NXT with such high regard, having great matches with Ilya Dragunov, that was awesome. But then when he got to the main roster and they gave him the Intercontinental Championship and let him run with it, the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion, he looked absolutely phenomenal that whole time. I don't think he had a single bad match while the Intercontinental Championship was on the line. He made that title prestigious. And then when he lost it and he moved up to the World Heavyweight Championship, that's when it kind of started to go sideways a little bit, because his character turned from, the ring general into sometimes whiny, sometimes confident, sometimes lost. We just didn't know what to expect from Gunther every time he was on TV as World Heavyweight Champion. And I think that diminished it a little bit. And now this feud with Pat McAfee didn't really go anywhere. And now he's back in the World Heavyweight Championship title picture. So hopefully if he does get that title back, he has a better run this time than he did last time. But that span from, when he won the Intercontinental Championship to when he won the World Heavyweight Championship, I'd say that is prime Gunther. And I hope we can get back to that one day. Cracking the top 5, at number 5, we have Drew McIntyre. Now, Drew McIntyre is honestly pretty perfect. There's not a lot of matches you can turn on where you see Drew McIntyre mess up in the ring. There's not a lot of TV that you can turn on where Drew McIntyre will mess up on the mic. Drew McIntyre is absolutely amazing on the mic. He has great timing with everything. His memes that he makes are greatly timed. His remarks, his comebacks, everything on the microphone is perfect with Drew McIntyre. And then add to that a guy that in the ring is not going to pull out, any crazy flips or anything, but he's going to beat you down and have a 5-star classic while doing so. He kind of reminds me of a Sheamus or even a Gunther with how good he is in the ring without having to do all the flashy stuff. He doesn't need to do a flashy stuff to have a great match. He can come out and hit you with the belly to bellies and the cool kicks and the freaking DDTs and still put on a 5-star match. And Drew McIntyre, I'd say his gimmick right now, ever since he turned heel, I love Drew when he won the WWE Championship, but after he turned heel, I think is when he started putting on his most entertaining matches and his most entertaining feuds, having probably feud of the year last year with CM Punk. And I had to put him on here at number 5. At number 4, we have a guy that just recently returned in the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes, overall, I'd say is kind of like a Randy Orton, where if you had to build a perfect wrestler, it would look like Cody Rhodes, but Cody Rhodes just has a little bit more flashiness than Randy Orton. And I think that's why I kind of enjoy Cody nowadays more than Randy, is just because Cody, like I said, is kind of the same thing as Randy. It's just he has more flashy moves, and I think that in the ring, Cody Rhodes is a very good storyteller, but I think sometimes he also has some stinkers, mostly against people that he has to kind of, bring himself to the level of to wrestle. I'm not going to throw any names, but there is some guys that he has to bring himself down to try to wrestle, and then, we have a terrible match. But when he gets to put against somebody like a Kevin Owens, like a Seth Rollins, he has absolutely phenomenal matches because, he can work with that. And I love the whole trope that Cody Rhodes' whole moveset is stolen. Everybody's moveset is freaking stolen. There's literally not one person in WWE that really has moves that weren't stolen. And I love the Cody Rhodes rule of if he wrestles you so many times, then he's going to take your move. And that's how he, gets different moves. And I still think we see Cody Rhodes pull out moves every match that he doesn't usually do. Now, I think ever since he came back, I've been on the Cody Rhodes bandwagon right away. I was a Cody crybaby for the longest time. And the reaction that he pulled out of me from winning the championship at WrestleMania 40 is a moment that I think that it might never happen again. I might never have as much raw emotion and like joy as I did when Cody Rhodes won the championship at WrestleMania. A lot of us won't. A lot of us have never had a moment like that, maybe since either Kofi or Daniel Bryan. So having a moment like that presented where it was, I think was just an amazing moment. And like I said, he extracted so much joy from me that alone like puts him in the top 5. And then on top of that, he had a pretty good run with the championship. People like to say that he had a terrible, run with the title, but he had great matches against AJ Styles, Kevin Owens, not Solo Sikoa. But he had some great matches as champion, and he told some good stories as champion. So I think he's definitely better at chasing than he is holding, but I still think Cody is a good holder nonetheless. At number 3, we have a guy that's in my top 5 all time, and that is CM Punk. Now, CM Punk, now that he's a little bit older, I should probably lower him on the list because he's not, as compelling, right? He's not what he was back in 2014. He's not what he was back in 2010, right? He's just wrong. He's actually still great. No matter, age, has slowed him down a little bit, but he can still put on great matches. We saw him put on a 5-star match against Drew McIntyre at Bad Blood. We've seen him put on great matches against Drew McIntyre, great matches against, the likes of Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins in their feuds. And though he has slowed down with age in the ring, he's still putting on great matches. He's still looking great. He's still hitting most of his offense. There's not really too many moves that CM Punk has taken out of his offense since he's gotten older. And then I don't even need to tell you about his mic skills. CM Punk is one of, if not the best talker on the mic, period. And I will go there. I will say he's probably one of the best, if not the best, on the mic because he can, pull you in with any promo. His passion, just like I said Kevin Owens has so much of, his passion and raw aggression that he can display at any moment on the microphone, that just draws you in even more. And then just his character, his entrance theme, everything about CM Punk is great, and I'm glad he's back in WWE for me to enjoy again. At number 2, we have a guy who I have loved since 2012, and that is Seth Rollins. Now, Seth Rollins with the Shield, when he broke out of the Shield, a lot of people immediately didn't like him because they didn't think he was ready for singles, action, but he immediately came out the gate swinging, and then with the heist of the century, that kind of drove everybody to Seth Rollins because, hey, he just saved us from having to have Brock or Roman be the champion. So he had the heist of the century, and ever since, like I said, the Shield, I have loved Seth Rollins. I always thought he was the best member of the Shield, and then he was the best member of the Authority and any other group that they put him in along the way. Even when he stuck with, Jason Jordan to be his tag team partner, he was putting on good matches still, even with that, terrible storyline that was Jason Jordan. But Seth Rollins overall in the ring is comparable to Shawn Michaels, who is my second favorite wrestler of all time. He's comparable to Shawn Michaels in the ring, and that's a huge compliment. I know some people don't like to be, compared because they don't want to be the second this, they want to be the first that. But if I'm comparing in the ring, I'm comparing you to Shawn Michaels, who is probably the best wrestler in the ring, period, of all time. When it comes to just strictly in the ring. And Seth Rollins is a kind of mirror image of him. And I love that Seth Rollins also pulls out new offense. Every single match he has some type of new move. And I think a lot of it came from when the Stomp got banned and he had to pull out, the pedigree as a finisher and the front face DDT as a finisher, and he used to have the Phoenix Splash. So He's gone through so many moves that he has a huge array of moves that he'll never hit like the same move 3 times in a match, because he has so many different moves and he's constantly adding new ones, like the Superplex Falcon Arrow, like recently the Springboard Swanton. In the ring, he is absolutely insane. On the microphone, he's not a CM Punk or he's not, Kevin Owens, but he is definitely still good on the microphone. He's good at compelling you. And once again, raw emotion. He's great at displaying it, like when we've seen him against CM Punk with that raw emotion. He is just overall great in the ring. He is great on the mic. He has a great character now. He's always had a great character. I feel like the Messiah was a little bit iffy, but the Architect Seth Rollins was a great character. The Shield Rollins was a great character. The even babyface Seth Rollins, the Kingslayer, was a great character. And now with this new leader of the new group on Raw character, it's still working. He's never really had a character that was absolutely terrible that he couldn't make work, and that just goes to show you how good he genuinely is. Number 1 might be a cop-out for you guys, but at number 1 I did put my favorite wrestler of all time, The Miz. Now some people like to, I have actually gotten questions before, not from like YouTube, but from other people in real life. Why is Miz your favorite wrestler? And it's really simple, because when I first started watching wrestling, Miz is the guy that drew me into wrestling. When I first started watching wrestling, I think I started watching around like 2008. I was kind of like 2007, 2008. I started watching it and nothing was really like grabbing my attention. Yeah, I was cheering for Jeff Hardy. Yeah, I was cheering for John Cena. But there was nobody that I was really looking at like, yeah, that's my favorite. And then in 2010, when The Miz kind of like revitalized his character and made into a singles competitor, it just drew me into The Miz so fast. He was so good on the microphone. Even if he wasn't having the best matches in the ring, he just drew me in. And for that, and drawing me in and keeping me coming back to wrestling every week, for that, Miz became my favorite wrestler ever. And then slowly, as he got older, he honestly got better in the ring and better on the mic. But come 2016, he was giving phenomenal promos against the likes of Daniel Bryan and Dolph Ziggler. And then it goes to show you something, that nowadays, if they want somebody to have a promo battle that needs to either work on their skills or they just want to have a great promo, they send The Miz out there to be his opposition, such as we've seen with Gunther and LA Knight. They send these next top stars out to deal with The Miz on the mic, because they know Miz is, bar none, I just said CM Punk's might be the best talker, but Miz is one of the best talkers in the industry, period. He's on the Mount Rushmore of WWE microphone workers easily. And I think that always made up for his lack of in-ring skill, but now that he's gotten older, he's pulling out all these amazing moves that we've never seen Miz do before. He's hitting springboard clotheslines, springboard cross bodies, freaking lung blowers in the corner. Like, he's pulling out all these moves. He's, in the latter end of his career, and he's still, bringing new offense. And like I said, I fell in love with wrestling because of The Miz. I came back to wrestling because of The Miz. Then I slowly fell in love with the other characters, and that's why now I'm all about wrestling. And I'd say The Miz is kind of the cause of all of that. And now, genuinely, Miz is like one of my favorite. He was like my role model growing up, and I absolutely love The Miz. And that's why even on a list of active wrestlers, while The Miz only wrestles once every month, it feels like, I still have to put him at number 1. I can't take him off this list. I hope you did enjoy. Like I said, at the end of the day, this is my list. This is my favorite, who I enjoy. So if you get mad that Dominic Mysterio wasn't on here, or that guy wasn't on here, or that person wasn't on here, this is who I enjoy watching. Now, if you enjoy watching other people, let me know in the comments some of your favorites. You can put a whole top 20 list down there if you want to. I don't care. Let me know who you enjoy watching in the ring, and let me know why. If you want to, who's your favorite in the comments? Just leave a comment. Also, leave a like. Also, subscribe. And I'm hoping to get a couple more videos out for you guys. It's been absolutely insane the last couple of days. I've gotten out a trivia from 2024 that I finally was able to, go through, edit, and put out. I got out the Saturday Night Main Event review and ranking. Same thing with NXT Battleground, so go check all those videos out. If you want to be notified whenever I drop a video like this one, go ahead and ring that bell. And I hope to get out some more videos that aren't exactly just talking about nowadays wrestling. I want to get out more videos like this one, or going back in time and talking about some older stuff, or just, overall different stuff than just the nowadays of wrestling. But if you did enjoy, leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, ring that bell, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.
This happened if I had real tough love, I'm bad at this, and I'm bad for this.
narcissistic tendencies. I don't care about no one else. Narcissistic tendencies, I'm low, so set me on the shelf. Few people ever have my back, yeah, there ain't no doubt about that.